hello. Come right into this wonderful enchanted land. Please come in and make yourself comfortable. I want you to relax and really feel at ease. Yes, welcome. I'm Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, positive psychologist and originator of the Enchanted Self, a positive therapy, a way of feeling happy, contented, purposeful, and at the same time living a life of meaning. So of course you're invited. Please, I have plenty of space. The Enchanted World that I am part of is just waiting for you, and there's plenty of space in it. And we're going to talk, and please sit down. Okay, relax. Yes, of course you can have some water. And yes, of course you can have some soda. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit today, actually, soda and water and things like that, because actually our subject is serious. And we're going to look at it. We're going to find ways to work our way through something heavy. And the heaviness that I'm talking about is for us the experience that Katrina, the hurricane, has been for all of us, as well as her favorite sister, Rita. It has been a very, very difficult time. I know for me, when I first heard about Katrina, I found myself not only mesmerized with the news, but I found myself very upset. And as time went on, I realized that I was becoming, I'm going to say dehydrated for lack of a better word, an emotional dehydration. Now I can pick up this gorgeous bottle of water, this Fiji that came all the way from wherever, the Fiji Islands, on ships and boats and planes, who knows, and got to me, and I can just at any time, even while you're visiting, open it and have a wonderful sip of water. But what I was seeing with Katrina was people thirsty and people hungry and people without diapers for their babies and people sick. And I was just emotionally dehydrated, deflated. I was identifying and feeling close to these people and very, very sad. It was a very hard time for me, for many, many people that I spoke to, and as well it should have been in the sense that we were in an American crisis. On the other hand, how do we refuel the emotional tank, the gas tank that's part of me or that's part of you, that's part of you? How do we refuel it so we don't start to run on empty, feeling blue, feeling depressed, starting not to sleep well, perhaps having nightmares at night, perhaps waking too early, fitfully thinking about everything, perhaps not digesting our food as well as we should. All the symptoms of mild agitation and mild depression. How do we ward those off and stay refueled and regenerated even during hard times? Well, the basic way that I've discovered, I've been working with women for more than 20 years, both at the research level, the therapy level, I should say more than both, the classroom level of teaching and running workshops, and now through the wonderful amazement of the web, teleclasses, and conversation hours with women that I've never met nor will I meet who call in. Well, in my conversation hour a couple of weeks ago on the telephone tied into Katrina, I had a woman on the phone who I think summed it up very well. She said, you know, I'm mildly depressed over all of this. I'm terribly upset. I'm certainly going to give some money, but I don't know how to use myself to be helpful, and I also don't know how to replenish myself. And we started to talk, and I gave her some ideas and thoughts, and none of them were really clicking in. And finally, it turned out that this woman needed to express that she had quite a bit of anger in general. It wasn't easy for her to find ways to just let go of the anger. And she wasn't an easy lady to just send off to be a Red Cross volunteer. She had to do it her way. But the more we talked, the more it became clear that in order to refuel our energy tanks, we all have to do it our way. And what we need to get to is a passion part of ourselves that can be released and come alive again so that we can fill our tanks with energy. I can't necessarily fill my tank with the type of energy fuel that your tank gets filled with. Now, for example, for this lady, she suddenly said that I should back up. I mentioned to her, wow, one of the things you've talked about is this pickup truck that you have. Wow, I could imagine you going down south to one of these places and maybe wearing a red hat because that would just look so cute. I could just see you doing that. And she picked up on that and she said, wow, I like that. I can see a bunch of us ladies in red hats. And we had some fun with that. And she said, well, you know, really, my pickup truck is not my own. It's a neighbor has a pickup truck, so I'd have to see if I could borrow it. But it's a very, very cute idea, and it's beginning to release some of my energies because now I'm seeing myself as going with a small crowd of ladies, and maybe we'd really bring some needed items down south, or who knows what, but you've given me something to think about. So what I realized that night, and what confirms all my research, is that everybody has to find the passion place within ourselves. The part of ourselves, either it's a little girl at 10 who has to come alive again, or it might be the really strident, courageous teenager. It might be the young woman who wants to come alive again, who's full of ideas. Whatever that part of ourselves is, we have to let her kind of be released and reintegrated with ourselves at the moment to not only be helpful when there's some sort of tragedy, but to actually have fuel in our tanks so that we're not feeling depressed. Now, what happened for me is that I had to think through, well, how am I going to get refueled? I'm a psychologist. I'm even a positive psychologist. And now I'm feeling depleted, dehydrated by Rita and Katrina. And what I realized is that, well, one thing is there's a child within me that just loves pen pals and loves to meet strangers. And there is a young woman within me that loves to teach and loves to be helpful. And these parts of myself just have to get used. So I've been doing that. And then there's a part of me that loves to praise people and give them awards. So one of the things I've done is that on my website, www.enchantedself.com, I'm offering a certificate of merit for everyone and anyone that is doing good deeds tied into helping with the hurricanes. And I've had lots of people write in and tell me their stories. So now I get my new pen pals, even though it's through email, and I'm feeling great. So I have found a way to refuel my tank. And I'm so delighted you're here, you're drinking water and soda, we're relaxing in this beautiful garden. But look, I'm doing an awful lot of talking, and in reality, there's nothing better than two heads than one for wisdom and for sharing stories. And I just wonder if in the magic of the enchanted self, we might be able to conjure up one of my special enchanted mates. Let me just sort of go into a little bit of a reverie and see if that could happen. So I'm going to close my eyes for a few seconds. Anybody there?
Hi, were
Wow.
you expecting someone?
Yeah, I was hoping.
Okay, you found the right one.
Wow, May Eisenberg.
Right, one of
our regulars.
our regulars. But now I'm with her on the same topic, actually. I didn't know what her topic would be, but believe me, I came prepared very thoroughly for it. I remember all the way back to 9/11. I'm a poet and a writer, as you may be able to see. And at 9/11, I couldn't write for a whole month. I went into shock, and I just was in despair. It was my own country. I have children and grandchildren, and now I even have great-grandchildren, which I didn't have at 9/11. And I just couldn't cope with it. You know, I was so afraid for all of them.
And yet you ended up writing some beautiful poetry.
Oh, I wrote a whole book, which has not come out yet. But we're not talking about that anyway.
But the first month you were so flattened by the whole thing.
Yes, the first month I was. But then after that, when I recovered, I had already written a book, and I attached this part of the sequence of events to that book, which has not come out
Are you
yet.
going to read us a poem about Katrina? That's what it
Yes,
looks like you're getting
I was going to say that. This time I did not wait.
Wow.
As soon as Katrina happened, I said, my God, it's happening. What is that? You know, it was something again that I never expected, any more than I expected 9/11. And I said, this is happening, but I'm going to take notes and write down all the things. And I took notes that, you know, you'd get nauseous looking at. They're scribbled all over the place, you know. And then when that happened, after Katrina had been around for a couple of days and I saw what my notes were telling me, I wrote my first poem. Actually, I wrote two altogether, one about Katrina and one about Rita, which happened later and which was certainly unpredictable then. So I'll read you the poem I wrote about Katrina on 8/29/05, and it's called Katrina, You're Going Down in History. And this is why. You're a hurricane, wild, dangerous, replete with devastation, the cause of floods in Gulf of Mexico, like New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, the cause of death for folks who chose to stay or could not get away. You caused the loss of homes, a way of life, of cherished property. 10,000 people huddled in one place with nowhere else to go because of floods 15 feet high. Although you shifted east and New Orleans thought it would not suffer quite as much, still you ran wild at 150 miles an hour and slowly down to 140, then 130, then 120, and then 100 miles an hour or so. And 48 hours of folks who could not leave, and even rescue squads could not go out because of your wild winds. Predictions did no good. Folks had to die. George W., Salvation Army, many others have sworn to help. But in the end, we all will pay the price. And then on 9/4/05, I wrote, after Hurricane Katrina, will it ever go away? Katrina, you don't seem to go away. The floods, destruction, looting, weirdos shooting. George W. agreeing with us all, it took far, far too long to start to help. those who were left without communication or food or water, ice, but most of all, no way to leave, with all the levees broken, no way to drain the water, so that now there's chemical, bacterial pollution, with mass destruction of oil generation, no milk for babies, diapers, phones for mamas, or anybody else. I heard Geraldo Rivera cry with loud emotion. George W. then came and looked, and the day after that, Geraldo laughed and laughed, as suddenly so many means of transportation, choppers, buses, boats, etc., moved 10,000 detainees out of huge structures filled with corruption, disease, and smells unbearable overnight. So now the whole world knows how bad our land can get. I know that I'm ashamed to say all this. And yet, the whole world, Muslims, Christians, Jews, now Texas has 120,000 detainees, and other states and places far away as Australia. Soldiers who had come home from Iraq, people from everywhere offering folks shelter in their homes. New Orleans won't, they say, be livable for many months, or maybe years. So many volunteers, soldiers, sailors, Marines, i.e. in Baton Rouge. The volunteers are rescuing today folks who are walking in the contaminated water, stuck for 6 days on top of roofs in houses. So many died. People with diabetes, no prescriptions. The whole world knows poverty, age, and skin color can influence the speed of sending help to people trapped by storms like the Katrina hurricane of New Orleans, Alabama, and Mississippi. And New Orleans, it is the city of the dead. So far they think 5,000 left our earth. And so it goes and goes and goes, at least so far.
I'm going to stop you.
I just want to say they predicted 5,000, but this was before they really found out what it was. So now it's 500.
I almost felt depleted again listening to your poetry. The poetry is beautiful, but the message was intense.
Exactly.
And I think, again, for everyone listening, what I need to make sure you understand is that it's normal to feel a feeling of depletion and almost being smothered or upset, however it comes through to you when you hear terrible things. But the human spirit is such that we can override those feelings as soon as we empower ourselves. So for me, a lot of that empowering was tied into writing the poetry.
Well, we each do what we can.
Right, we each have to find that kind of fingerprint of ourselves, that passion point that we can play off of in order to become empowered again and become strong. And I found from all the people that wrote me to get their certificates, their Enchanted Self certificates, and it's not too late, you can get yours. Just write to me, tell me what you're doing, and you will get yours. These people have done the most incredible things, whether it's very small, $23 donated to the local Salvation Army that's going to,
I donated money too.
Or whether it's very big. There was one woman who wrote me that she went down as part of a medical team, and they went from little area to little area, providing medication and other life support things that were very necessary. She put in a very intense week. When the week was over, she did return home. And several of the people that wrote to me said that what was so amazing was they got more from the people they helped than they felt they gave.
That is something that we all find out when we help others, that what we receive is more than what we get. And I've heard people say it on TV. Those people who are doing through TV ways what you've been doing through your way.
Exactly. And so, they were thankful, not thankful that this happened, but thankful that they had an opportunity to give to others and then feel that they were getting back much more than they had given.
Well, we're learning a lot from this whole situation. We're learning that the government and the local people and the people, the local leaders and the people themselves all have to be in touch with each other and not go behind red tape and green tape or whatever.
That's right. I don't want to get lost, though, because we only have 5 minutes. I want to make a point that's something that can help people.
If we have only 5 minutes, will we be
No, I'm not going to. Let me just make this point and then see where we're at, because I want people to have something to leave that they can practice. When I talk about finding your passion place and how to release your own talents and potential and then find a way to get on top of either bad happenings or even bad feelings, what you can do is scan a year from your own past, like say when you were 10, and look for some of your talents or look for some of the successes you had that year. Look for when you felt good. Look for whether you enjoyed playing a sport or you enjoyed being the bossy kid on the block. Even something like being the bossy kid, maybe you got in trouble for being the boss, but you'd be a great boss now, say with the Red Cross or something. Look for your actual, even the dreams you had at that point. If you dreamed of traveling, maybe you are a good candidate to do some volunteer work that involves travel. But if that never interested you, you might be a better candidate to, go around collecting baby socks or something right in your own neighborhood. And if you can begin to...
I think there are people who are doing just that.
Yeah, you can begin to feel almost whether something that you might do, whether it feels like hot and annoying and it brings up sort of icky feelings, or whether when you think about it, there's almost like a glow around it and you kind of get a kick. You could see yourself doing it and feeling very special. We have to get a sense of reading our own inner selves. And that's how we begin to become diagnosticians that find a way to go into our own energy tanks and refuel them. And so that's what I wanted to teach, because this is a simple lesson that everybody can do. And what I'm going to do is just remind you, if you have something to share around a heroic deed of any type, as small as $5 going somewhere, write to me at www.enchantedself.com. You can get a certificate of merit, and of course you can find out all about all the other programs, the different books I've written, the different I can't even go through telling you much about them, but Delight is my last book. You can find out about how you can get an Enchanted Self necklace to wear that you can touch and remind yourself all the time that you are an enchanted self. Of course you are. Don't answer me that you're not. You are. And what I'm going to do is let May Eisenberg finish our show by sharing her poem on Rita, even if it starts to, we may not finish it, but go ahead. You go ahead, Rita.
I just want to give you some idea of what I did, because this is my way of contributing, at least partly. Yes. I wrote this on 9/22/05, Thursday. I always date these things for obvious reasons. It's called Hurricane Rita, Wrong Time, Wrong Place. So, where are you headed? Katrina's gone. Now Rita's on top of our nation's east coast. This time it's Texas. And, oh no, Louisiana? We just pumped you out. You're finally dry. No, not New Orleans. We patched up the levees. But there goes the water right over their top. Folks just got to Houston. And now, Here's Rita in Houston. New Orleans folks, again gone, this time from Texas. Now where can they go? And Galveston, Texas? Once primary Texas before 1900, then destroyed by much flooding. Now Houston rules first. But how long will that last? Here comes Rita, fast. George W. was late, as was everyone else, to evacuate New Orleans when Christina came there. But this time there's Rita. So all folks in Houston, first the old, sick and helpless, were sent away first. And then all folks in Houston all went out at once. So folks ran out of gas, which could not be replaced. Cars were thus stuck for miles, San Antonio bound. Oil refineries in New Orleans, not closed this time, so pretty well damaged. No oil from them. No natural gas either. But for Houston's bout with Rita,
Just go ahead if you wish.
they learned from Katrina, so oil refineries shut down. So of course there's no oil. So of course cars are stopped as they flee from you, Rita, while the whole southeast coast waits for where you'll fall first, with your wind and your rain and your flooding and such. Floods in LA are bad, not as awful in Houston, which dodged Rita's bullet, though some places suffered. Lake Charles, Texas Airport, their hangars brought down, and some areas flooded. Sick, helpless people lost their lives. Their bus was destroyed in a fire when oxygen and bus defect combined, killing 24 such folks, though they left in time. 34 killed in New Orleans. They could not leave on time. So it seems things don't always work. So we can only try. Just prepare for the worst while we wish for the best. Folks are told, don't come home just yet.